Hello everyone, I must say thanks for joining the channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. It takes a lot to create content and I'm happy to be sharing content with you. I'll always bring you topics on history, technology, and artificial intelligence. I know some of you might not want to watch artificial intelligence content, but please take some time to watch the content because it's so important. And for those who might not want to watch the history, take some time to learn why it's so important to, of course, appreciate another person's history. Now, this case I'm going to talk about at this point in time happened in 1999. Montego Bay Street People Incident. A case, of course, for human rights, governance, and homelessness policy in Jamaica. Now, I was working in Jamaica as a social worker at that point. I was the victim support coordinator for the parish of St. James. Now, in 1999, Jamaica had a problem. Yes, a national problem that led to a national scandal. When approximately 30 to 32 mentally ill, homeless individuals were forcibly removed from Montego Bay, St. James, and placed on a truck and abandoned in a deserted place in St. Elizabeth. Yes, this event was condemned and was now known as the Street People Scandal. It ignited widespread national and international outrage, drawing sharp criticism from civil society and the media alike. The incident prompted the establishment of a commission of inquiry in May 2000. Yet, despite this public inquiry and the public demand for justice, the inquiry ultimately resulted in a disappointing lack of accountability for those implicated. Now, I had a friend, she's now deceased. Rest her soul, she worked at the family court. She sought to taught me this when I was doing my social work course in Jamaica. Sometimes when government want to stop people from talking, they have an inquiry. And everyone talks and talks and talks. You know what they say? 7-day wonder in Jamaica? And it's done. Now, one question you might ask, what causes homelessness? And that's a question that I've asked when I visited Sweden the other day and of course another country, because I saw homeless people. Homelessness can happen anywhere, anytime because of life-changing situations. Now, remember, that man you see on the street, he was once a baby, once a toddler, once needing help. Now, that man or woman might need that help. However, the path towards a comprehensive reform had challenges, including persistent policy, of course, implementation gap. Resource limitation in Jamaica is always prevalent. And of course, there's always the perception of society. They criminalize individuals who are from the vulnerable population, and that creates a problem. So as we examine this report, what happened back then, the 1999 incident had a critical part to play in highlighting human rights violation, deficiency in governance, and of course, the ongoing struggle for the development of efficient and effective implementation of comprehensive social policies in Jamaica. Now, I remember the incident clearly. As I told you, I was told not to get involved. Now, let us look at the context pre-1999. Prior to 1999, homeless in Jamaica was extremely common. Individuals experiencing homelessness routinely encountered severe discrimination, stigmatization, and of course abuse. I have seen individuals in Jamaica seeing someone lying on the plaza and just deciding to hit them and just run away. Yes, I've seen that. You might ask, why didn't I get involved? To be honest, I'm not going to take on 3 or 4 boys because you know what? I'm an observer. If I were in a different situation and be able to protect myself, that's different. The foundation legal framework governing poor relief in Jamaica at the time was an 1868 Poor Relief Act. This act was of course outdated and did not position itself to help individuals in this time. Now let us go back to what happened on July the 14th, 1999. The Street People Scandal. It unfolded when approximately 30 to 32 mentally ill and homeless individuals were forcibly rounded up from Montego Bay and, of course, in the parish of St. James. These individuals were then loaded onto trucks and transported to desolate areas in St. Elizabeth, and that's a parish. They were then left abandoned. The profound thought that someone could round some people up and take them to another parish, to a location that they had no idea of, was really startling. The fact that men were involved in this was shocking. Men who were able to have a conscience back then. Anthony Walker, Douglas Bernard, Dennis Hansen went missing after the incident and were widely believed to have been deceased. Investigations implicated several entities and individuals in the incident. The St. James Parish Council was directly implicated, along with its truck driver, Roger Leslie, a contractor from Western Parks and Market, Egbert Campbell, and Police Constable Maxine Pedding. All were subsequently charged in connection with the incident. However, they were later acquitted due to the lack of evidence. We always see that in Jamaica. In the immediate aftermath, the mayor of Montego Bay, Councillor Hugh Salmon, publicly condemned the actions and denied any prior knowledge of the plan, expressing his desire to see the perpetrators being brought to justice. The incident rapidly escalated, gaining prominence at the national and international level. It was now known as the Street People Scandal. It triggered a powerful wave of public outcry, widespread negative media coverage for Jamaica, and of course, a robust advocacy for various people who had interest in this area. Most notably was the Jamaica for Justice group. The swift and intense public reaction serves as a potential demonstration of the perceived injustice and, of course, inhumane act that occurred. The immediate public and, of course, media condemnation played a critical role in compelling the government to respond. Notably, the Board of Supervision was given a specific mandate to, of course, coordinate homelessness and, of course, create an initiative on July the 15th, 1999, merely one day after the incident occurred. This rapid governmental action, while perhaps reactive and ultimately inefficient in securing accountability, highlighted the crucial influence that civil society and the media had on the situation, demanding justice, transparency, and policy review in the face of such evil acts against, of course, humanity. Let me also say that the forcible removal of these individuals, of course, had significant breach on both domestic and Jamaican law and international human rights standards. The existing legal framework in Jamaica at the time, of course, was not good. It was just foundational in relation to homelessness. But there were several areas that, of course, were violated. And when we look critically at the Constitution of Jamaica, it stated that no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty, save or may be in any way of the following cases authorized by law. In the case of a person who is, or reasonable suspected to be, of unsound mind, addicted to drugs or alcohol, and it goes on, it means that everyone has a right to their personal liberty, and that was violated. There's some significant thought about that. Although we have our constitution, sometimes people take it for granted. If we are to look at international human rights in connection to what happened in 1999, we realize that there was a big violation. The Universal Declaration for Human Rights, of course, under Article 25, affirms the right to the standard of living adequate for health, well-being, which explicitly includes housing. So therefore, by forcing these individuals out of Montego Bay into, of course, St. Elizabeth without their permission, violated their fundamental rights. And of course, that should not have taken place. The reality is that at that time, a lot of things were going on in Jamaica. A Human Rights Watch group, of course, published a report in the same July 1999, detailed frequent and credible allegations of police abuse in Jamaican lockups, including, of course, beating, mock execution, rape, alongside deplorable conditions. While this report did not specifically mention the Street People incident, it concurred, of course, the broader aspect of human rights abuse in Jamaica. Now, the Commission of Inquiry and Accountability. The immense political outcry and widespread condemnation that followed the 1999 event, of course, directly compelled the government to establish a commission of inquiry in May 2000. The primary mandate of the commission was to thoroughly investigate and report on what was happening and what caused that situation. Now, let us face the fact. Despite the formal establishment of a commission of inquiry and the public's expectation for justice, the outcry regarding accountability was deeply disappointing. The inquiry concluded without anyone being held accountable for the incident. So the people didn't transport themselves. They didn't ask the truck driver to drop them. Then why is not someone held responsible for that action? In the absence of formal accountability from the state, civil society organizations played a critical role in ensuring, of course, that advocacy was done for the street people who were shipped away in another location. Such groups as the Jamaican for Justice, which some people now will say they don't like them because of what they stand for regarding certain things. No, I'm not going to get in that. This is not a political channel or so. But I think at that point, the relevance of them advocating for individuals who were in situations that are like this and others was well welcomed. In more recent years, the government has articulated a broader vision for housing, as I stated earlier. It has developed a national housing policy and implementation plan, which is anchored, of course, in the National Vision 2030 Development Plan. This policy aims to, of course, provide safe sanitation for individuals across Jamaica. The policy explicitly recognizes housing as a fundamental human right. And of course, it is essential. And I see some people getting houses in Jamaica. But let me say that we have to understand that we should limit ourselves from criminalizing homelessness. Remember when I started the session, I asked the question, what causes homelessness? Addressing the multifaceted challenges of homelessness in Jamaica requires a comprehensive and integrated approach that transcends, of course, isolated programs, political affiliation. And of course, we must have that within legal form. And I like that we have implemented a national policy regarding this. We must integrate services to ensure that NGOs and organizations work together in helping these individuals. We must collect data to ensure that we can track these individuals and help them along the way, providing them with opportunities. And we must strengthen accountability to avoid 1999 from taking place. And of course, public awareness. Anyone can have some mental health issue that needs to be addressed. And of course, the public needs to understand how to address them. Let me say, as I end, homelessness can happen anytime. And it can happen to anyone.